Welcome to Solutions with Courtney Anderson. I am your host, Courtney Anderson. This show today is part of our Financial Fierceness series, and of course, is dealing with financial issues, individual, not business, and we are fierce. Right? We are fired up. We are serious. We know exactly what our goals are. We're going to surpass our goals. And our financial fierceness series is where we're able to integrate those financial individual goals into our greater, larger overall development plan for professional and personal goals. So, what are some of the issues that we're dealing with in our show today? Well, our episode title is, I think, maybe somewhat provocatively titled, Rich on 1,800 US dollars or less a month? Really? How? So that's a claim, right? That's a headline claim. Rich on $1,800 or less a month US dollars? Really? How? And this show is interesting in this episode because I there's so many different issues that are kind of wound up into this topic. And so the idea is that I'm making an assertion that someone could be rich on $1,800 US dollars a month. Now, I'm not making this on some sort of, macro global, scale, comparing the wealth of US dollars and the parity purchasing power to other markets. And I'm not going to sort of say, well, yeah, you'd be rich on 1,800 US dollars a month if you lived in such and such, country that was a very different economic structure where people live on, the equivalent of, 50 cents every 5 days or something, and then say, well, see, I told you. That's not what I'm doing. I'm talking about in the US. And the argument I'm making is, money fascinates me. I had a discussion with a friend. We were just out having a nice meal, and we were talking, and she told this a story, and the story went basically like, many years ago, not that long ago, but I don't know, let's say like 10 years ago. She was driving down the street, and she was saying how she had an older model car. She was driving a car that, let's say the car was, 10 years old or something at this time. And she stops at a stoplight, and there's a friend that she knows, somebody that she worked with at a retail store, a large retail store in a shopping mall. And the person is, and it's, so she sees her, this friend, and the friend is in the passenger side of a newer model vehicle, a car that looked like it was much newer and, fancy, driven by a friend, her friend's friend or boyfriend. She wasn't really sure. And basically she said that she, stopped at the stoplight, and that the friend rolls the window down and basically says something out the window like, oh, that's your car? Wow. And is making fun of the fact that she's driving this really old car, and I guess is just, sort of, pointing out that she's riding in the passenger side with her, friend or boyfriend or whoever, in a really nice new fancy car. And I just thought this was so interesting. You know, money is all relative. So, part of me said, oh, okay, I'm not considering make some sort of comparison. Oh, sure, if you went to a very impoverished nation or, part of the world, then your dollars would go very far. It's not, that wasn't necessarily my argument. But I do understand that the value of what money represents to people is different. And, my argument is you could take $1,800 US dollars, and let's say you took $600 and you spent that to pay all your basics, right? So your property taxes. If you live in a low cost property tax state, I live in Nevada and Texas. Nevada has much lower cost property taxes on your real property, on your houses. And let's say you had a house somewhere around 100,000. Let's say you had a house that was valued somewhere around $75,000, and I have some friends that actually do. And there have been so many great bargains when the economy contracted, things of that nature. And so the property taxes, rough estimate on something that's a really nice, could be a condo, could be a duplex, could be a single family home, that is somewhere around 75,000. The property taxes are going to run somewhere around $76 a month. That's your property tax. That's your bare minimum amount of money you have to pay on property, after you paid off any loans or anything, if you borrowed money to buy the house. But if you bought the house, if the price was 75,000, you paid 75,000, the only thing you have to pay then is the property tax. Sometimes there might be other assessments that the government has, um, but just pay the property taxes. So what I'm trying to say is you have $1,800, you spend $600 on all your bills, and I'm giving you a breakdown that's saying, okay, let's say you live in a low cost state, let's say you had a house of this number value, your property tax is about $76 a month, and then you spend the rest of that money on your utilities, your water, your trash, your internet, um, your health insurance, medical bills, things of all this nature. And of course, we've had new rules kick in the U.S. very recently that provide affordable health coverage for people at sliding scale opportunities. So health insurance is attainable depending on your personal income. It would be, either very little um, or a lot less than you used to pay on the private market, and you'd get all the great options to have health insurance. Go to a doctor when you need to, get your prescriptions, things of this nature. So although prescription benefits are separate typically. So here we are. My argument is you can do $600 a month and you can do all of your bare minimum bills. I know this because I have a house in Nevada. It's not valued anywhere near as low as the number I gave on property taxes, but my bare minimum bills, utilities, all of that are, you know, in the $600 range. So you can totally do this. Now, the issue is then I made the argument if you spend about $600 on all your have to have stuff, right? Your property, your utilities, then you have all this extra money to go do whatever you want. So if you have $1,200 left over, you get $300 a week to go spend on whatever you want. Go out to eat, buy yourself something, go to the movies, just spend it on whatever. And of course, I wrote in the show notes the argument many people would make is, what? I could spend $1,200 on a shirt or one dress or one shoe, not even a pair of shoes, just the one shoe of two, in a pair. I could spend $1,200 on a meal at a nice restaurant. I could spend $1,200 on a bottle of wine, so this is stupid. Okay. The point of the program and my little story about the dinner conversation I had with somebody having a person they knew working in a retail mall establishment sort of make fun of them because they're driving an old car was exactly this. Money is just a tool, and it's a tool to obtain whatever it is you want. If somebody wants to take their money and go out and spend $1,200 or $2,200, or heck, or $20,000 on a bottle of wine or a meal, do it. If you want to spend that on a dress, do it. Totally your choice. If you want to go spend $2,000 on a car that might be old. My friend was saying that, yeah, that car that when this person was laughing at her at the stoplight was old. Yeah, it was old. She wasn't going to deny that, but it was paid for, right? It was old. It was paid for. So all she had to pay for was gas and really cheap insurance, right? So in other words, you could go get a fabulous brand new model vehicle that's luxury, and everyone will know how great it is and how fabulous and new and shiny it is, and it has all the latest everything that's new, from the tire covering, the what do they call those, the rims, to all the upgraded everything. And if you don't pay cash for it, in the United States, most of the time somebody usually will go ahead and loan you money for borrowing against the car, so that you could pay it back over time. And so let's say you do that and you get a fabulous brand new vehicle, and everyone sees it's fancy, it's a luxury vehicle, and it's got all the upgraded everything in it, and let's say you're paying $950 a month on that. And because you borrowed money on it, then the people that you borrowed the money from for the vehicle loan they're going to demand, which makes total sense, that you're going to cover that car for all types of things that could happen in terms of insurance. They're going to require what they call full coverage. You're not going to be able to skimp on the insurance coverage because you don't own it. The bank or whoever you borrowed the money from, credit union, whatever, they own the car. You borrowed money, and if you pay the money back at the end of all the time when you pay the money back, then they'll send you the title to the car, then you will own it totally. Right now, you have an interest in the car, an interest in it, but you don't own it, and so you can't be the one to decide how much insurance coverage you want because it's not up to you. They'll tell you what the bare minimum they'll accept is. Now, you can add more to that if you want to, but you can't do less than that. Otherwise, you won't be in agreement with the terms, compliance with the agreement terms for the car, and they're going to then go ahead and either they'll buy more insurance and just send you a bill for it, or they'll go ahead, if you refuse to do this, and they'll just take the car back. They'll just tell you that you're, not doing what you're supposed to, and paying for that expensive insurance that they tell you to get is part of the requirement. And until that changes, then they're going to take their vehicle back. And part of the reason it's easier to get a car loan in many parts of the world, especially in the United States, than other loans like a house or something, is because the vehicle is tangible property, and they can just come get the vehicle and take it back, and then they can just sell it to somebody else. So when you talk about money, you could either be spending, $950 a month on your car note plus fancy expensive insurance. So let's say your total, you got your 950 for your just that's just the basic, right? I'm paying a lot of interest, and then I pay for whatever, some principal, and I'm going to do that for years. And car loans in many parts of the world, they'll do them in months. So let's say, oh, do you want 36 months? That's 3 years. Just say it, right? I think it sounds better, I guess, if it's months. I don't know. But you can do them up to 84 months, or even more in some cases. It depends on the lender. So let's say you're paying 950, and then you have to pay another, let's say you have to pay another 200 a month on the fancy insurance, and I'm being very, very lean there. So let's say you're paying 1150 a month, and then of course you have to get gas and any maintenance and everything. So let's say it's $1,300 a month that you're spending on a fancy car. Okay, now that's your choice. It's awesome. If you want to do it, do it. At the same token, you could get your older car that you buy cash or that's paid off. So you have $0. That saves you the $950 in payments. And because you get to pick how much insurance you want, maybe you're going to decide, hey, I only want the bare minimum on this. I'm going to do $50 a month. And then I have to get gas. It's like another 100, depending. Let's say it's another $120 a month. So let's say you could spend $180 a month on a car, or you could spend $1,300 a month. Your choice. Or even cheaper. Or you could have no car at all and just decide, look, I'm going to live near where I work, and then I'm going to ride my bicycle and be about my business. My point is simply this. I could put any number in the title of the show, and I actually did initially. I put different numbers in. It could be 1,800. It could be 2,800. It could be 3,800. It could be any number. The number is actually irrelevant. The whole point is that, what do you want? What's the lifestyle that you want? What does it mean to be rich? To me, it means that I'm rich when all my bills are paid, and I have a way that I can rely on to the best of, you can rely on anything, although understanding that anything could happen, right? So I'm thinking, oh, I can rely on that income. Oh no, there was a typhoon or an earthquake, and it was it was my benefit from my retirement or the government, and now the government is out of business because the big natural disaster destroyed the government. Well, sure, that could happen. So I'm not saying there's nothing that's 100% guaranteed, but let's just say that you either have a job, or some sort of source for your money that you pretty much can think of that should come in next month or next week or whenever it is, and that'll give you some ability to plan ahead. And the key is you take whatever that number is, and then you decide what do you want. So many things that we talk about, so many programs, I keep asking that question. I ask people all the time. I'm doing some legal issues yesterday, providing legal services, volunteer legal services to people in the local community at the courthouse. And I keep asking people, what do you want? Tell me what you want. So if somebody would say to me, the most important thing to me is that I can drive around my town, wherever I live, and roll down the window in a fancy car and say to people, haha, look at how fancy my car is. Your car looks old and not fancy like mine. Look at me, look at me. If that's important to you, then do it. The challenge is that so many people look at money, and they just have, to me, wildly strange priorities. What do I mean by that? Money is a tool. So in my mind, the first thing I would want with my tool is to make sure that my basic needs are met, that I have somewhere to live, shelter. For me, I would like a certain amount of autonomy. So I don't want to have like 9 roommates, like my own room, my own bathrooms, and live in a neighborhood that I feel is safe in terms of crime or other issues. I would like to be able to have utilities at that place, like, whatever I need, gas or electricity, water. I need to brush my teeth, take a shower, use a toilet. And then I need also to have enough money for food, basics. So something to eat so that I won't starve to death and die. And then, of course, I need, again, something to drink. So, of course, water. If I pay for utilities, and maybe I'll get some other extra things to drink. Maybe I want a coffee or a tea. These are basics. People, in my mind, when I talk to them, and when my friend was sharing her story, just get wildly strange priorities. Look, I can't debate the merit of a super fancy car. I can't debate the merit of super fancy wheel coverings on a car. I've had conversations with people about this stuff and it just blows my mind. And they'll tell me they'll spend thousands of dollars on the wheel covering, like the chrome thing that goes over like the hubcap thing, because it's important to them. And it's more important that in their neighborhood or where they live that they can drive around and show people that. Look at that fancy wheel covering on that car. It makes them happy. Okay. I don't understand that. I don't see how that's helpful. There's no value in it. I mean, there's value in there's monetary value in the hubcap, rim itself. You could sell it, but it's not valuable in that it's going to appreciate. Appreciate as I buy something today and the value of this thing goes up over time. It's worth more tomorrow than it was today. Most of these types of things, and that happens with things. So like, sometimes certain types of artwork are going to appreciate. Certain types of real property, usually you'll buy some land. I know my grandparents, both my grandmothers had a lot of land and rental properties and stuff. You buy it, for one price, and over time it usually goes up. Um, some types of vehicles that are special collector's items, sometimes those are so rare that they'll go up because they're kind of like art. But most vehicles, mass-produced vehicles, they depreciate. Depreciate means I buy it and it goes down in value. It's worth less tomorrow than it is today. So I paid a price for it, but it's already worth less money than I bought it for. And when you start putting all your money or majority of your money into these depreciable assets, I don't understand what the long-term plan is. Meaning, my thing is what lifestyle do you want? To me, the idea of having my basic necessities taken care of, so that when I go to sleep, then I know that my bills are paid, and that I've set up a way. Of course, nothing's guaranteed again. That they'll be paid again, recurring in the future, and that brings me stability. And ideally, I should pay all my basic bills, so I have a place to live, utilities, food, medicine, and now I have leftover money, ideally. And if I have leftover money, then I can just spend that on whatever I want. Going out to eat, going to the movies, whatever. Where I get into murky confusion with people sometimes, and we do so much in finance, right? So we do financial fierceness, where we sort of talk about sort of these broad areas. I do the Law Lovers Lounge series, where I talk about financial things, but within the parameters of legal issues. So people who, didn't pay something and they were sued by their credit card company, or they didn't, pay for their bills, and the landlord has sued them they didn't pay their rent. So they're financial, but they're within a specific type of consequence. The thing that I'm arguing in this show is big picture. What on earth is the point in money if you're always broke? You could earn $1,800 a month or $18,000 a month, and you'll still be broke if you keep spending more than you bring in. It doesn't matter how much you bring in. It just matters that you keep spending more. And you could argue, and you're not wrong. You could factually argue to me that, look, I could go out and get, okay. I will admit I'm what I believe to be frugal, which I think is a wonderful trait. And not in everything. Now, there's some things I'll spend money on that people would say, well, that's silly, but they're important to me, so I'll feel like that was a worthwhile investment. But in general, clothes, electronics, most stuff, I don't like to spend money because a penny saved is a penny earned. In other words, if I keep money, then I don't have to go out and earn it. Like I already have it, right? And ideally, if you hold money, then you get the whole thing of interest, right? Where you got a little bit of money, and then you just put it in a certain vehicle, and then people give you more money in the future. It's worth more tomorrow than it was today, right? It turns into more money magically. Actually, it's compound interest. So I would like to keep money. So I'm someone that you could go in my closet right now, and I will tell you the majority of the clothes in there are years old. I probably maybe once a year I'll buy a new item of clothing. And then once every couple of years I'll realize that some of the things are so old that I guess I need to go out and buy a couple of things at once, like a couple of suits. But typically I like to buy nice things, but they're bargains. I like to buy at stores where they have lots of discounts. Either where they'll have like a 70% off rack where I could get something that's like a nice, name clothes that people would recognize the name, a nice suit, but it's a couple of seasons old, the style isn't in fashion, and so it's, hidden in the back on the super duper discount rack, and I'll get something that originally, was sold for $150 and now I picked it up for, $29. That makes me happy. I like that. I just went to a store like a month ago, and it was one of those times where I realized I needed some long sleeve shirts and some short sleeve shirts, and like I need some white shirts and some black shirts because I was the old ones I probably had honestly like 15 years, and I needed to add some extra ones. So I went to a store and I went to the my bargain area, and they have a super duper bargain area where they have things that are like $9 or less. It was so awesome. I can't tell you how happy I was. I mean, I found like four things, for like $4, $5. It was great. Now, some people, and I've talked to people socially, in the past who'd say like, I wouldn't even go to those stores, or they're so messy. There's just stuff everywhere, like the discount stores or these types of stores. And I understand. Some people like to go to the fancy store and buy it brand new at the fancy place and pay the full price. I get that. I don't. So I don't. I buy stuff that's, nice, and then I take care of my stuff. I keep it clean. I always keep everything, neatly hung. I always, launder it or dry clean it. And it looks great. I wear things that I literally bought. I might have bought a suit in 2000 and wore it in 2014, and people are like, "Oh, it's so nice." I'm like, "Yeah, it is." Now, it might be, 13 years old, but it's great. I I my purpose is buy something nice, but buy it when it's, off season or a little bit later after it first came out, so I get the cheap good price, and then take care of it, and then you can have it for a long time. I have a purse that I must have purchased about, I don't know, 12 years ago. And it's a designer name. It's one of the fancy designer names, but I got it at a discount outlet store to begin with. And then, I take care of it, keep it clean. And then just recently, some of the handles had worn so much because it's, been like 12 years, right? So I went to a little cobbler place where they, will clean or fix your shoes or hats or anything leather. And I showed him what happened. And he said, well, look, I can make you another handle, out of leather, and I'll just dye it to match the rest of the bag and put the same stitching in, and it'll look brand new. And he did it. It was awesome. And it was just a little bit of money, right? So it's a bag that if I'd gone to the store that's that brand and bought it right there, it would have been hundreds and hundreds of dollars or more. I don't even, But I bought it at a discount, so it wasn't to begin with. And then I've kept it for 12 years. And then when it started to wear out on the handle, just because I used it for so long, I use it every day. I've like, I usually have a couple purses I rotate out. Then I went to the place and they just replaced and made a new piece of handle out of leather, and it looks just as good. So in my mind, it's perfect. I'll use it another 12 years, I'm sure. Now, some people say that's insane. Some people would say, why wouldn't you just go to the fancy store and buy a new one? The point is, why would I? I already have a purse. And I have like, a few others. But that's why I don't go out and buy new clothes. I already have stuff in my closet. Why would I buy new stuff? There's already stuff here. It looks fine. No, is it the latest that's come out in some fashion thing? No. No, it isn't. But I don't keep up with that anyway. And, and I'm not a model, obviously, as for numerous reasons. Age, size, height, everything, right? Like, this isn't my thing. Do I admire people who have beautiful, clothes or accessories or whatever? Of course. But it's not even I mean, my stuff to me looks great. I've had people make fun of me, the fact that I don't have any designer new clothes or fancy clothes. Fine. I'm never in my life probably going to feel comfortable spending hundreds and thousands of dollars on just individual items of clothes. It just seems insane to me. I say this, and I'm, totally honest. I do see the value in real estate. So I do buy real estate. That's very nice. I try to get bargain prices on that too, and then hold. I buy and hold property. It's nice property. I'm not going to sit here and say that I don't live, in nice property, but I buy and I hold it. I'm not trying to do things for other people to say, wow, look how great that is. I'm trying to do things that A, meet my basic needs, and then B, once I've met those basic needs and I have a little bit of resources beyond that, then what to me seems like a good investment, buying real property. These are the houses that I'm going to either buy, hold, and rent out, or they're going to appreciate a lot, then, and they'll something again that appreciates, fine. I see it. I wouldn't see it in something that depreciates, like, a vehicle or a mass-produced automobile. When I want something, the last car I purchased, I knew what I wanted. It's a fancy brand model car. It's a fancy, kind of sports car. But I, of course, refuse to buy cars new. The money the moment you drive a brand new car off the car lot, it depreciates a substantial amount of money. So in my mind, I love vehicles. Maybe there'd be a point in my life where there was some kind of collector's item I might see would be worth an investment that might, that would appreciate or at least hold its value. But so I wanted this vehicle. It was fancy, so I knew what it was. I researched it. I did all the things I needed. I went and test drove versions of it at auto dealers, and then when I was ready, I knew exactly how much money I'd spend, and I decided I'd spend in the 20,000s area, which is still a ton of money, but compared, I mean, it was it's less than half of what the car cost new. And then I went online and looked for places that had older versions of the car, pre-owned, shall we say, and I found one, and I bought the pre-owned version. See, look how the money I saved. And it's still nice. People are like, "Oh, it's a nice car." It is a nice car. Now it's older. I mean, it's not anything that's this year or last year or even 5 years old at this point. But it's a great vehicle, and it was made incredibly well. And I hope to keep it, as long as I can. I had a car before this for 12 years. The other car before that I had for 17 years. I mean, I buy and hold stuff. That's sort of the theme, right? Whether it's clothes, houses, cars. Um, my argument is you could be rich. Rich is my bills are paid. I'm not stressed out at all. I have some sort of system set up. I argue for diversification. So maybe you'll have some money coming in from, rental property. Maybe you'll have some money coming in from a job. Maybe you'll have some money coming in from a business, or maybe you'll have some money coming in from interest on investments. Maybe you'll have some money coming in from a pension or retirement. I don't care, but you need to have some I would argue multiple sources of income. And then you need to think about how you spend your money. What are you buying? I like to buy the stuff and then think, oh, this great pair of jeans. I'll have it for a while because I know me, right? Like I'll have it forever, not forever, but it may be a couple decades. So I buy quality stuff, I take care of it, and it lasts a really long time, and I don't have to spend money on stuff. Now are the people who laugh at me and have my friend was saying that the lady had laughed at her years ago because she was in her paid for car and the other lady was riding in the fancy car that her friend or boyfriend had. Yeah, people laugh at me and I don't care. I don't. This isn't, look, this is life. Money is about having money, having it, not having stuff that you can't do anything with that you owe money on, but having money, access to money, or having items that appreciate. So you have to make decisions. Can you be rich on $1,800 US dollars in the US? Yes, you can if all your bills are paid. Can you make the argument to me that it's impossible for you to live on $1,800 because you spend that much on fill in the blank, going out to eat or whatever? Yeah, you can make that argument. It's a choice. Everybody has to choose. Nobody has infinite money. Even if you get to the, tippy top, right? You're Carlos Slim, you're Bill Gates, you're somebody who's got billions of dollars, right? The deal is you still have limits. Everybody does. And we love to read in mass media, there's some big fancy millionaire person, multimillionaire person brought down by their own greed or theft or whatever, or fraud, and you read about all the obscene things they bought, right? The $50,000, bathtubs and the $10,000 shower curtains, and people laugh and giggle. The thing is, it's just, why is that any stupider? Why is it stupider to spend $10,000 on a shower curtain than it is to spend $10,000 on a wheel cover or a dress? How is it any stupider? These are all choices. And the money is finite. It's finite. So if you spend more than you have, whether it's $1,800 or $18,000 or $180,000 or $8 million or $8 billion, you're broke. Why you do that, I don't know. I don't want to do that. I've done shows on that, on my own bad choices and some bad circumstances in life, and being totally broke. I hated it. It was stressful. It was horrible. So why not look at money as a tool? Why not decide, you know what? I want to be rich. I want all my bills paid. And then I want extra money, actually extra money to go out and do stuff with it, whatever it is I want. Now, can I go buy whatever I want? No. There's always going to be something that's going to be too expensive for anybody. There's always a limit. But I could go buy something nice. And if I think about and think long term with money, what's the goal? The goal is to have as many stress-free days as I can in my life where my bills are paid. I got extra money. Do I want to go out to eat? Yeah. Now, am I going to be able to go out and spend, $25,000 on dinner every single day without running out of money sooner rather than later? No. But can I go out to nice restaurants and then every once in a while, if I really feel like it's worth it, plan ahead, I would budget for a splurge? Do it. But if you don't plan and you just run around buying fancy stuff that you think other people will then think you're fancy, it's a total waste of money. They don't. Plus, you can't hold on to those things. They don't appreciate. And being cash poor is the worst situation ever, because if you could be in the fanciest car and then if you don't have the money to pay for gas, and I've known people this has happened to, what was the point in having the fancy car? You can't even drive it. You can't insure it. You can't put gas in it. You're broke. It's pathetic. Stop. You're better than this. So my argument would be in this financial fierceness episode closing that yeah, you could be rich on, you give me $1 for you can be rich on it. Are there some people, and I'll admit myself, due to I like frugal deals, that, I frequent, some of the, media and online communities of people who share tips on how to save money because I just think it's great to save money. I love a bargain. Yeah, you know, but should you also treat yourself every once in a while that you planned ahead for? Of course, you want to make sure it's healthy. But there's nothing worse than taking this great tool of money, which could give you emotional stability, literally physical safety with a place to live. It's yours, and just blow it on silly things that are trinkets that have no value, that do not appreciate, because you think that other people will think more of you for having that or wearing that or being next to it or whatever. It's silly. No, they won't. You and your value comes from inside out, not from outside in. So that's why it doesn't matter what you're wearing. I thank you so much for joining me. As always, you can come to CourtneyAnderson.com, and I really encourage you, if you're interested in any of these money issues, take look at all the other programs that we put forward, and reach out to me and ask me questions. My goal is for people to take the tool and use the tool to benefit them to have a great life, low stress, bills paid, good future, resources there if there's an emergency or something comes up, or to be able to help yourself or your children or loved ones. But if you don't look at this correctly and plan, then you'll have all this stuff, and you'll never be able to have low stress. You're just gonna have constant anxiety, and you're misreading how society works. It's irrelevant the name brand you're wearing. It's irrelevant. Who are you? What are your values? What do you do? Who are you as a person? You need money, and I've done tons of other programs on credit, good credit, how important it is. So thank you for joining me, as always.